G'day my friends and welcome to Marty's garden. It's another beautiful day here outside. Local dogs, neighbours' dogs are barking. Chickens are laying eggs and working in the compost area. And best of all, something that I've been promising for quite some time, a review on the maize worm farm. Let's get stuck into it.
Windows wide, the curtains fly to catch the evening breeze. Without you here to keep me warm, believe I'd rather freeze. Believe I'd rather freeze. And how long can we walk that line between the sea and sand? How long can we bide our time for dreams we never planned? For dreams we never planned. When the sky...
Okay, so the maize worm farm. What we're going to do is we're going to cut it into sections, this video, and talk about the pros at the beginning and the cons towards the end. There's lots of good benefits and there's some drawbacks with this worm farm as well. And I'd like to explain it as clear as I can so you can decide if it's for you. Right, so let's pull it apart first. I'll just pull it to the side a little bit like that. Now, as we're pulling it apart, I want to show you it's a really strong worm farm, and you can see that this one's being used. It's dirty. I gave it a bit of a clean. Now it all fits nice and tight, which is what we want because we don't want the worms escaping, especially if you've got it in the garage or in the kitchen or under the sink or something like that. And we want to have nice, good large grids and airflow for them to move through. And we also want to have these steps here. So the next section, if you're building another tier on top, they fit on quite snugly. And you really want it not to be sort of too flimsy as well. And this is quite a well-built, quite strong worm farm. And if you don't have it out in the sun, which I recommend you don't have worm farms out in the sun, then it's going to last. It's going to last for years. It's just, you know, it's one of those worm farms that are very, very well built. And so I've got a 2-tier system going on here. But when you first get started, you only need the 1 tier. Then you add the 2nd tier as your worms breed and build up, because what you do is you have them in the 1st tier here, and once you get all your castings ready and you want the worms to come up to the next tower, you fill that full of bedding, feed the top, and they come up through. So it's a good system as far as that goes. And as you can see here, I've got legs on this one as well. Now I really like these legs. It comes with wooden legs too, but I found the wooden legs really hard to fit in, and I struggle getting them in and out, and I just like the plastic legs like this. Now, you don't have to have the legs if you don't want. They actually fit down. It sits really nice and low without the legs, but you know, that's totally up to you. I'm just going to get these legs off here and show you what it looks like without the legs, and then we'll look at the rest of the worm farm down below and explain the other parts to it, because that's quite important. So you can see it sits down really low like that, and I really like it low like that. Less chance of it falling over. Now my daughter Karen, she's on the camera, she's doing a great job. Thank you, Karen. Say hello to everyone.
Hi guys.
And so underneath is another tray section. It stops all this sort of funky material from falling through and getting lost, and also the worms from coming through and getting lost. I'll just pull that out there, and you can see there's a hole there. And it also comes with a hose that you can use to attach underneath. And this is your drip tray that goes underneath like this. And catches the liquid. So just hang on, I'll get the hose for you and show you. Now the hose, it attaches underneath with another part. And the reason I don't like this hose so much is because it would just get dirty and funky and be really hard to clean. So I don't really recommend the hose at all, and myself not a big fan of the wooden legs. Now the whole thing, when you actually have the worm farm together and all set up with 2 tiers, it's not so heavy, and that's one of the bonuses about this. So we're going to get into that was more the pros, a little bit of cons, but we're going to talk about the cons more so now as I put it back together, and then we'll have a look at this whole system. One of the pros actually I forgot was because it's so small, it's, you know, it's like I don't know, 45 by 45, something like that. You can see it's not very big, it's just a little bit longer than my arm there, and half my arm, and in square. And so when it's full, it's not too heavy to pick up, and sometimes you do need to move them in a hurry because you might have spilt some milk, or you might drop something, or you need to clean that area out or whatever, and you don't want to empty all the worms out, and that can be a real problem if they're really heavy. So this is quite easy to lift up on its own. Probably the drawbacks on that though is being a smaller system, it's not going to compost as much material through the top, and it's not going to hold as many worms. So with the size of this worm farm, that's probably the benefits and the cons, because we talked about the weight and not being so heavy, but also you don't get as much material out of it because it's a smaller farm, because you're not processing as much material, and it just can't hold as much material. But if you're only growing a few seedlings, and when you're doing some transplants and things like that, that's where worm casts come into their element, because they protect the roots from nematodes and plants, and they also work like a water crystal, like they're a natural water crystal, and they're holding all that nutrient around and slowly releasing it to the seedling and to the plant. So you don't need a lot as what people think. Generally it's only about 10%, 20% max to a mix that you're putting with your plant. So really, if you've just got a small space, this is really the perfect worm farm for that, because you can collect every 3 months or more a whole lot of there. So half a bucket, so whoop, got the legs rolling around there. So easy half a bucket out of there. And we're going to show you actually one of the worm farms being emptied out real soon, because we've got a whole lot over here ready to go, and we're going to empty one into the wheelbarrow coming soon. So the next benefit about this, about being a small worm farm, is one of the problems with the larger worm farms, such as like the Hungry Bin. They heat up if you put in too much material and it hasn't decomposed properly, and that can really freak the worms out, sending them out to run out and fly everywhere and try and get outside of lids and escape. I've never found any at all ever trying to escape out of this. They seemed really happy in here the whole time. Now, I didn't get as many cocoons as what I would normally get in a larger worm farm, because there isn't as much surface area on top for them to come up and lay the cocoons, and you do need to put the second tier on there, and then they come up and seem to start laying in that top one. So once the first one's done and they're coming up through, they'll lay more cocoons at the second time. So don't be in a rush to empty this one out when you're doing your second layer, which Karen's showing on the camera now, which is empty. But what we're going to do is we're going to move over now, and we're going to empty out one of the worm farms. It's been sitting too long, and I must admit I have neglected it a little bit, but they're still powering on. So if Karen comes with the camera here, you'll get to see my face on how heavy it is. We're going to lift it up. Oh, it's probably around about 10 to 15 kilo, I would say. We're just going to get it into the wheelbarrow here, and if she tells me if it's too dark or too light
it's
on
okay.
camera, as you can see here, we've got all the boxes for the lights for the studio. It's looking like a bit of a mess, but we're going to light it up really cool. It's going to be an awesome studio for teaching you guys more about all this type of gardening stuff. And we can get the reviews even better, show you all the awesome plants and things. So while I'm just moving this out of the way, what we're going to do, Karen steps back a little bit. We're going to empty out this worm farm and get it happening for you. Now here's a top layer. Look, here's one trying to escape here as a worm. Look, here he goes. He's wrapped that bit of stick around him, and he was taking that stick with him. That's how strong they are. That's amazing. That stick was starting to go under the earth with it. He's just trying to get a little bit of a grip in there. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm playing around with the worms as I normally do. I love these little guys. So we're going to empty out this top one here and show you the castings underneath first. So as you can see, nice black rich castings, and what you're looking for is that smooth clay-like texture, which means it's well and truly ready. And if you don't mind getting your fingers in there, you can feel it. It feels like the putty as well. and you can see it rolls into a nice little perfect ball. There's always some worms in there. They like going through it. There's always must be some food in there, and they pick up the biology and go through their own poo, so to speak. And so I'm not going to empty the castings out just as of yet, but what we're going to do is I'm going to put it over here onto the top of this part. Show you the underneath. It doesn't get too dirty. Doesn't get too dirty, which is pretty good. Just put that there on top of there, and we're going to empty this out now. So this is a top tier, and we're going to just have a look at the worms in here. You can see they're really healthy, and the last layer that I was putting on was just horse manure. I stopped feeding them near the end there and started putting horse manure in just for them to have a bit of food, so you could see how nice and clean it looked at the end, because I didn't want any funky food in here while we were doing this video, because that would have been horrible if we had like still funky food left over and stuff like that. So you can see like at the bottom, so this was collected off the bottom here, this is nearly ready as well. Like it's almost a pure worm casting, which is really cool. So this is about 4 months in, this whole system. As I said, I'm running a bit behind with this, and like I said, it was a bit neglected, but not really. These type of worm farms, if they're sitting in the right spot and it's not too hot and in the right environment, they got a little bit of food. Compost worms are really tough. But as long as they've got the bedding and the food and it's not too hot, the right moisture, they just keep doing their thing, because they always find little bits of food that you would think had already been eaten, but it hasn't been eaten. So what I'm going to do is get this back into here. I'll rebuild this system again. Just put this back onto here, and we'll have a look at these worms. So I would say I started off with around about 1,000 worms. I would have been expecting more worms than this after that period. So I believe that it's not really, because it's a smaller system, they won't breed as much as what they would in a larger system. And I found that in my breeding boxes with more surface area, I was getting, and even a shallower dish, I was getting better results with cocoons. But as far as just a little system in your yard or on your veranda, because they look really nice, they're really pretty, they don't look like those ugly old worm farms. And like, there's a couple of cocoons in here. I'm not finding too many, but I've mixed it right up, and most of the cocoons are usually on the surface. So I would have needed to scrape that surface first, or put down some type of matting underneath for them to lay the cocoons underneath, because I didn't have any type of blanket. And so they would have laid cocoons also on top of the castings, which is in the other tray down there. But this material, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix this with some of my compost. I'm going to get all these worms out of here, and I'm going to grow lots and lots of plants with it, really healthy plants. So you can see from one tray, it's quite a bit there, right? And I haven't even emptied the second one out. So don't underestimate the maize worm farm. It's a pretty cool worm farm. And maybe for you, if you're in a small space, you don't want anything too heavy, you don't have too many plants around, and like I said, like, there's a lot more than what you think. Oh wow, so I had to go out and change my shirt. It was like getting quite hot out there, and I was getting dirty, throwing all this dirt around and working outside and everything. So I've got this, like, it's one of my favourite t-shirts, Top Shop, from Byron Bay. When I used to live up there before, I used to deliver to the Top Shop. They were one of my best customers, actually, for microgreens and baby leaf and all that really cool stuff. But anyway, listen, getting back to the point here, I'm really enjoying getting these vlogs out to you guys, and it seems that you're loving them too. So if you are enjoying the show and you want to keep learning and watching as I grow, there's another rhyme for you, and teach you guys, about the micro farming, the small space gardening, growing food here at home organically, sustainably. If that interests you, subscribe before you go. Give us a big thumbs up, like a huge one. I want one of those, like, we need a big mammoth thumbs up. that we can do in YouTube instead of just a thumbs up or thumbs down. It's like a mammoth thumbs up would be really cool. And share the love. Say g'day down below. Leave a comment regarding anything to do with this video or a question that you may have. And I'll see you at the next video real soon. We'll just need some music. Bring on the music. Some cool tunes. Yeah, I'm always digging those tunes at the end. Have a great day. Happy gardening. Here it comes. And we'll see you at the next video real soon.
I've never known a love so steady. Even gold won't turn your tide. We flow together like an ocean, every low and every high. And I would have you anyway, dear, any way your heart could bear. Even if you had to leave me, I'd always be waiting here.